Only when we are sorted with the why and the what can we come down to a how of how we need to deliver a speech. So let us start with defining our objective of delivering a speech. What is the reason, or why do you feel like delivering a speech as a part of Toastmasters International? As an objective, I feel that there is a purpose for every speech, and every speech should start with a goal so that you end in fulfillment. Now, that fulfillment can either be winning a contest, it can or be inspiring people, or it can even be just venting out whatever you faced in the last 1 month. So, your purpose or your objective of delivering the speech could either be winning a contest, or you want to inspire people, or you just want to say a story which you think is pretty close to you, or you want to deliver a research narrative where you have researched data and statistics and a lot of figures and stats, and you want to deliver it in the form of a narration, or you simply have faced a lot of difficult time in the last 1 year and you have failed a lot of times, or probably you have seen success and you want to just vent out the struggle that you have faced, or you are just doing it for the sake of completing levels. And if you fall in that last category, I would request you to simply log off this Zoom meeting, because the next section is not meant for you. Here at Toastmasters, we are not delivering speeches to complete levels. We are delivering speeches to fulfill the goal that for which we came to Toastmasters. Someone wants to become a negotiator. Someone wants to become a dynamic leader. I want to become a visionary communicator. And that is why I am at level 4 of that. And I have not been pretty speedy with it. I have taken my time to reach level 4, which has been more than a year, I guess. And I am regretting the fact that I took more than a year. But I feel that all of you should not just deliver speech to complete levels. Find your purpose before delivering that speech. And that purpose has a correlation with the speech objective that you're supposed to fulfill as a part of pathways. And we will come down to pathways and how you're supposed to get mentored later on. So once you feel that your speech falls into either of the objectives that is listed here on the screen, then we move on to the next section, which is what are the steps that you need to take to deliver a speech
Mayank, we have
in
lost you.
international speech contest is coming soon. So the primary purpose of this workshop will be someone has paused my screen sharing. May I know why? Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes, Mayank.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, so I think my screen sharing got paused. My video and audio is clear, right?
Yes.
Okay, so carrying on. Uh, Once you have defined the purpose of your speech, that is, you have answered the question why, we then move on to the next section, which is what you need to deliver, which I call the theme of your speech. Now, a theme essentially means something that you want to talk about and something that the audience might want to listen to. Because believe me, if you are talking about something which only you feel is the necessity and the audience is not really interested in it, then your fulfillment will never happen after delivering a speech. And I would say the theme comes from the objective. Once I have defined my objective of delivering the speech, only then can I come to the theme. I'll tell you two examples of how we can define that. Let's say you are going to participate in a contest, which is going to be international speech contest to be held in the next 3-4 months. And we saw that there was an objective called win a contest. There was another objective called research narrative. So would you, as an individual, try a research narrative in a contest, international speech contest? Can someone show hands or probably write in the chat box? Would you ever try a research narrative in a speech contest? No. So we get answers like no. And the reason is that in a research narrative, you have limited control on the things that you can give to the audience. You know that the audience has a divided attention. They are also seeing the screen, they're reading the images, they're reading the pictures out there. Then they are seeing your face, your expressions, and simultaneously they're also hearing your voice. So they have divided attention into 3 parts, which is why you will, in comparison to a normal speech, not be able to deliver something with a great impact. And you yourself will lose out on a few parameters like body language, like expressions, because you yourself will be focusing on the screen that you're trying to show, which is why Your objective has to be very clear of why you are delivering the speech. And not just that, we'll also delve into another thing is that for a speech, some people might say that inspiring people, like if a speech has an objective of inspiring people, that might be a speech which make you win a contest. And for that thing, I think we can create a Venn diagram wherein there is an overlapping section, all right, wherein you can write a speech which inspires people, and it will be a speech which will make you win a contest as well. For example, the speech of Dhananjay Heterachi, where he talks about I see something in you. Now that is a fantastic speech wherein you see that he inspires the entire audience to see something in themselves to actually start working towards themselves. Whereas if you listen to the speech of Ranjit Venkatesh, where he is delivering something on hold on, he's trying to inspire people, but that speech did not make him win the contest because he lost on a few parameters. However, if you hear a speech of a world champion like Mohammad Katani, which is power of words, now, this is a unique observation that he makes using the story of his child, wherein he's not trying to inspire people, but he's actually delivering a unique observation that he saw in his family, and he's trying to make something out of it. In a speech of Manoj Vasudevan, where he delivers something called We Can Fix It, where he's talking about a relationship, he's not trying to inspire you to work your relationship out with your spouse. He's actually telling you to do something which can fix your relationships with people. So it's not something related to inspirational, it's something which is related to you taking an action on your life. So that is why once you are clear with your objective, only then you can delve into the theme of your speech, of what you need to talk about. Now, once you are clear with your objective and your theme, comes something which I have defined as the ROI, which is the return on investment of people who are giving you 7 minutes, 30 seconds of your life. Now, those people are looking forward from something from you, and they are investing 7 minutes, 30 seconds. They are trying to find some return on the time that they are investing with you, which is where we'll define what does ROI mean. The acronym ROI stands for revisit, observe, and inspire. So there are three things that you can delve into to choose a theme of your speech. And this is my personal opinion. It's not something which is a foundation to any of you. So it's my personal opinion that once you start writing a speech, you can delve into either of these three aspects to start off with the theme of your speech or the concept with which you want to work. Now, R stands for revisiting memories. That is when you go back to your past and you try to find instances in your life which can be experiences worth sharing, or learnings which you want to tell people, or something that you have faced in your life, a struggle, or probably something like a success that you have seen after a lot of failures, which you want to tell people about. You want to come up with a message which you have realized in your past, and you want to tell people that this is something that I have faced, and I want all of you to notice that. And on researching about speeches and on watching more than 50 videos on YouTube throughout my preparation, I saw that more than 50% of the speeches are about revisiting memories. They have some instances from their life, past or present, where they are trying to come up with a message from something which they have experienced. Now, O stands for observation, where you're trying to observe something unique or something which is unnoticed by people. Now, this category is just 10% of the speeches, because this is a very unique category which actually grabs the most marks. If you check out the judges' ballot and if you come up with something which is very unique in terms of a concept of the speech or the theme of the speech, for example, when Mohammad Katani, he came up with a very normal concept of power of your words, right? His concept was how important are the words which you speak, but the way he delivered and the kind of the message and the kind of the story that he framed was pretty unique. And using his own child to explain his entire concept was something worth a watch. And the third category is inspiration. It is where you inspire people differently. Now, the word differently is very important here because everyone talks about inspiration. I have delivered a speech more than 4 or 5 times on Elon Musk because he's my inspiration, but there was nothing different about it. But when you talk about something inspirational, which is also different, probably the speech of Persian Wesley, when he was delivering a speech upon how he was changed by a tire. It's something where he was inspired very differently with a unique story, and that falls into the 40% of the category. So I would say that before starting with your speech, you need to understand what your theme of your speech should be. From which aspect of your life can you bring it? Can you bring it from your past by revisiting memories? Or do you want to bring it from observations that you made in your life? Or you brought it from some inspiration that you have noticed? And once you know that it falls in either of the three categories, you need to understand that to build a story, you just need to check your surrounding. We all have faced a lot enough in our life, even if you're 21 or 18 or 50 or 60, you all have seen a lot of phases in your life. And every instance that you have seen is actually an inspiration or an experience for someone else. I might have simply seen a dog bite some kid near my street, but that thing could be a storyline for actually a theme which could inspire at least one person in the crowd. And even if one person is affected, you will see that your goal is fulfilled. And that is why when I delivered my speech about depression in the district level contest, I received this one message after my finals. There's this lady who called me up and who asked me that, Mayank, the story that you spoke about your dad, was that actually true? And I said that, yeah, it was true. And then she asked me, can you please tell me more about it? Because even my son is suffering from depression. And that is when I felt that even if I did not win the contest, I did fulfill my need. I did fulfill my goal, that I wanted to talk more about depression and let people make aware of how to deal with depression. And that is why you need to understand that your speech needs to serve purpose of at least that one person in the crowd, and you will find that one person if your speech is good. Now, once your ROI is defined and you have chosen the storyline that you want to pick, then comes the message of the speech of what you need to deliver to the audience. Now, some people are confused because at the beginning, when they are writing a speech, they might have 4 or 5 messages. I might want to tell people about no smoking, or should I talk to people about no drinking, or should I talk to people about no drinking and driving? I don't know what the message of my speech should be. And that is when the audience loses the impact. They loses interest, they loses the takeaway point, because if you are not laser focused with that one thing that you want your audience to remember, your speech will never create that impact. I've recently evaluated a lot of speeches, and I see that the best of the speeches are those which has one specific laser focused message. And herein, I would like to bring to you the concept of zoom in and out. Now, this is a concept which I learned from Aditya Maheshwaran, who has been a first runner-up in World Championship. Now, Aditya actually defined the zoom in and out concept to show how a message can be laser focused. And I would like you all to note this particular example that I'm showing. A generic example is something where you are talking about something which is open to everyone, which is something generic, which everyone thinks of and people can talk about, and it is a random point of discussion. So I say my generic example at level 1 would be do not procrastinate. Now, the question from the audience might be, what should I not procrastinate? My work, my personal life, my sports gaming, or my gymming, or what do I not procrastinate, or something that I really wanted to do in my life, but I've just been pushing it. So here we are talking about a generic theme, which says do not procrastinate in your life. And then comes your second level, which is a moderate zoomed in version of your speech. Now, this moderated version is do not procrastinate important conversations. So till now, I had a funnel wherein from the beginning part, from the top, I had do not procrastinate. I have tried to bring it a little smaller and make it do not procrastinate important conversations. Now, the question from the crowd could be, what kind of conversation should I not procrastinate? Conversation like resigning from my office, or a conversation like I am upset with a friend, I want to talk it out, or a conversation like something happened with my family and I want to tell my mom that, mom, I want to go for a love marriage rather than an arranged marriage, or whatever it is, right? So you are trying to funnel down the entire message into a very laser focus in a specific thing. And the third level of zoomed in version is called a specific level, where you are trying to make your entire message more narrower. And here you say, do not procrastinate important conversation which affect our relationships. So now we have come down to a level where we have eliminated the work story. And now we are focusing about only our personal relationships with people. Now it can be with friends, it can be with siblings, it can be with my partner, it can be with my parents, or whatever it is. So we have already brought it down to a very narrow level. Even if now you feel that you can talk about a story which can be more laser focused, which can be actually to the point of where you want to hit the nail, you can go to level 4, where you say that do not procrastinate important conversations which affect your relationship with your spouse. Now, this is the example that Manoj Vasudevan took in Will You Fix, We Can Fix It. He spoke about an entire scenario where he was having fight with his spouse and how he could make it up by having a conversation with her and sharing things. And there his focus was absolutely laser pointed. And that is why I would recommend all of you, whether you are a novice speaker or you are an experienced speaker, to either fall in the category of specific or laser focus. Do not try to be generic or moderate, because that content is available everywhere. You can just open to YouTube, or you can open any blog and you'll be able to find the first two topics. But if you want to go to level 3 and level 4, you have to research more, you have to delve more into conversations. Now, coming into the aspect where a lot of people are confused is, what is the difference between a theme, a message, and a title? Now, a theme is a concept of the speech, a concept called do not procrastinate, where you have tried to focus yourself into relationships. So that is my theme of the message, theme of the entire speech. This is not related to a title called Power of Words, or a title called We Can Fix It, or a title called I See Something in You. Theme is essentially the concept that you're trying to build around your speech. A message is the takeaway point that the audience receives after the speech. It is something that I, as a listener, will take away from the speech and I would like to use it in my life. That is the message that I want to deliver. And the title of the speech is essentially what the contest master or the Toastmaster of the day reads out. Now, if you have heard the speech of Aaron in the year 2016, if I'm not wrong, when he came up as the second runner-up, his title had 57 words, and that is a fantastic usage of idea. He actually used the contest chair to prove a point, because the contest chair had to repeat 57 words twice, because that is how the format of a contest is. And after repeating those 57 words, the first thing that Aaron came on stage and said was, do you think you remember all those 57 words? You cannot, because it doesn't, if you speak more, it doesn't mean that you remember more. And then he continued on the topic. So he used that title to prove a point, and he actually used those 114 words which were delivered by contest master and saved his time as well in the speech. So that was a pretty amazing thing that I wanted to point out here. So I hope everyone is clear with the difference between the theme, the message, and the title, and the concept of zoom in and zoom out. So if someone could reply on chat a yes or a no, or if you have any doubts till now, you can simply shoot on the chat box. Great. Moving on to the next aspect. Now, let's say that you have defined your objective. You have fixated yourself on a theme of, I want to talk about, let's say, something related to failures in my life, and I want to talk about how failures are a pillar of success, which is a pretty lame example. And now you have fixated on this theme, and you have also picked up a story from your past, from the section called R, which is revisiting memories. And you know that you want to talk about something in your entrepreneurship life where you tried something out, but you failed, and then you had to come back again and start zero from scratch. So your theme is set, your objective is set, and now we move on to the content part, which I call the crux of any speech. Because delivery is something which comes by practice, comes by experience. But if your content is good, it doesn't mean that you're just storytelling, but you're actually telling your story well. And once your content is good, and after that you superimpose your fantastic delivery, that is when telling a story becomes showing a story. Every speaker is not a fantastic deliverer. He doesn't deliver fantastically. Some speakers simply deliver a content like a TEDx speaker. They are not Toastmasters, but their content is so good that we have a million followers for TEDx. And that is why content is more about telling your story well and not just storytelling. And there are a few stages which I have defined, which I have been following in my speeches, which I would like to bring to you, which I call the building blocks of my speech. Now, this is a recommended approach and it is not a compulsion for any of you to follow. But I would like to break my speech into 5 building blocks. And this is a step-by-step approach of how you can actually build your speech to a level where there is minimal possibility of improving it any further. The first stage is called the structure, which has 3 primary parts called introduction, body, and conclusion. I want to touch this basic point because there might be a few people who are newbies and who have not even delivered a speech. So a structure of any speech has 3 parts: introduction, body, and conclusion. But some of the people forget that there is one invisible part as well called transition. Transition is when you move from intro to body, when you move from body to conclusion. Now, introduction, if you listen to most of the world champions, you would see that in the introduction itself, they tell the audience what they're going to say about, because they want the audience to understand that this is my basic foundation of the speech. And I've already told you this is something that I'm going to talk about. And that generates more interest in the audience because they'll be able to relate with the speech better and they will be able to compare it with their life, something that they have already seen. Now, some people try to create suspense in the introduction and they try to bring the actual content of the speech in the body. And during that 2-minute phase, while you reach the body, you might have lost a lot of people from the audience because they were not even able to relate because you were trying to create suspense, but it actually did not work out. So during most times, I suggest as a beginner, you should always try to tell people what you're going to talk about. So if you hear Aaron's 2019 World Championship, in the first statement itself, his speech title is An Unbelievable Story. And in the first statement itself, he says, let me tell you why my story is unbelievable. In Will You Fix It? We Can Fix It by Manoj Vasudevan. In the beginning itself, he says that I was suffering from this problem with my wife and I just didn't know how to deal with it. And then he came to the part of how we can fix it. Every speaker does that because that is how the audience is able to relate better and try to compare it with their lives. Now, the body, in the introduction, you have told the audience what you're going to speak about. The body is when you actually speak about it. So in the body, you absolutely have every freedom to speak about whatever you want. There is no restriction at all. And in the conclusion, you actually remind the audience what you spoke about. Conclusion cannot bring another new idea in the speech. Conclusion is always about what you have spoken about and what you want the audience to take away from your entire speech, the action point for the audience, which we tell in a technical language. And transitions are when you move from one paragraph to another. Now, there are two ways how you can transit from one paragraph to another. The first way is the last line of one paragraph should have a continuity of thought to the first line of the next paragraph. If I've used a word or a concept, that continuity of thought remains and I do not really have to pause myself there, which is how you can transit from one paragraph to another and the audience understands the transition very well. The second way is when you change your track completely, is when you stop that continuity of thought and you want to go for something else. That is where you take a pause for 2 seconds because you want the audience to understand, boss, this idea is over. Now I want you to catch up with me and come to my second track. All right. This is another point of transition. And let me tell you all that every aspect that we are talking about is also an aspect of evaluation. So it is not just about speeches, but when you are trying to evaluate a speaker, all these points are going to be useful for you. Once your structure is ready, we move on to the framework. Now, in a framework, there are two ways where people work. And I personally, either people go for a scribbling method or they go for a bulleting method. I'll explain both of them. But I personally go for something which is a mix of both. Scribbling is when you have a free flow of thought. That is when you just continuously keep on scribbling down on the paper and you keep penning down every idea that comes to your mind and you start scribbling around 1,000, 2,000 words. And when you have written a block of paragraphs is when you compress all of them and make a speech. This is free flow of thoughts. So people who have a lot of, who is into overthinking, or people who actually think a lot and who have too many ideas to, come down to one thing, for them it is preferred that you scribble down all the ideas and then you choose which one is the best. And the second format which I personally follow is bulleting. It is when you have a structured flow of thought. So what I personally do is while I'm traveling from one place to another, I try to keep that free flow on in my mind and I start thinking what I could write in my speech, how my flow should be, which story can I pick, or which kind of idiom that I can use, or what kind of language I should be having. And once I have had a bunch of things in my mind while I'm traveling, while I'm doing some other work, and then when I sit down with a pen and a paper on my laptop, then I start bulleting those ideas and I start penning down one point after next. And that bulleting is in the form of paragraphs of how I want to go in my speech. So bulleting means you write a maximum of 10 to 15 words for one paragraph. It doesn't mean that you have to scribble down the entire paragraph. It is just making a bullet, a newspaper format of your speech. There are 6 paragraphs. I just write 15 words each. So that's 90 words in total. Once my bullet is ready, I see that the flow looks very smooth. And once my flow is smooth, then I start paraphrasing all my paragraphs. Now, in a paraphrasing part, you can talk about your personal story, which is the most recommended option for everyone because personal story brings the speaker more closer to the audience. I get to know the speaker more. I feel connected with him because he's also a human after all, and he must have faced something which I might face in my future, or I'll be able to compare it with my past. That is why personal story, the explanation of personal story is like you're climbing up a tree and you are moving to that branch which is the weakest, but that branch is the branch where the juiciest fruit lie. Because in a personal story you might talk about something which could be emotional, something which could be negative about you, something where you're trying to cover your fear, and that is where you are exposing yourself to the audience, and that is where you are covering your fear of talking out your emotions with people. So personal story is a tough nut to crack, but it is the best nut to crack because it gives you the sweetest fruit. In a paraphrasing part, you should also make sure that every word that you write, every single word, whether it is an and or a full stop or anything, it adds some value to your speech. You might write a statement which is a very famous quote from some famous individual, but if that quote doesn't fit in the speech, it takes away 15 words of your speech. And 15 words are equivalent to 5 seconds. What do you do now? Right? You might get timed out. So every single word should be a value addition. So whenever you have written a particular paragraph, just read it out aloud and see if it is connected to whatever you have written before and whether it is worthwhile. After your value addition part comes the grammatical tools, wherein you are supposed to use idioms, or you're supposed to use alliterations or similes or metaphors or different types of grammatical tools to make sure that in your speech, you come out as someone who's very good with grammar. Because if your grammar is good and if you have a very precise use of grammatical tools, everyone appreciates that because that brings a different, unique factor to your speech. Everyone can talk normally. There's nothing different about it, right? But if you can implement a few idioms or a few phrases or a few alliterations or something which will help you bring a character to your delivery using grammatical tools, it shows that you have researched well and you are someone who is a scholar. The next part about paraphrasing is descriptive language. Now, if I'm talking about an old lady in my speech, I would like to describe that old lady in a way which builds the character. I would like to say that she's around, 4.5 feet. Her neck is already bended at a 30-degree angle. She's holding a stick which is brown in color, and I am able to see just the white threads on her hair, and that too of a minimal quantity. You were able to actually picture that lady out, and probably you related that lady with your grandmother, because that is the way I use the descriptive language. So it helps you define your speech more. And the last part about paraphrasing is punctuations, which I think a lot of people miss out on. Punctuations are the most important part of paraphrasing because you need to understand what a full stop means and what a comma means, what a semicolon is, what a quote is. Because every single punctuation creates an impact in your delivery. In a comma, I need to take a pause. In a particular semicolon, I need to make them understand that I'm going to talk about what I spoke before. In a quote, I need to imitate someone who has actually delivered that quote, right? So every single thing of paraphrasing has an impact on your delivery. The next thing about building blocks is timing, word limit. Now, let's say you are a very slow speaker. I would request you to keep your word limit to 650 and not more than that, because a slow speaker needs to take more pause. He cannot have a pace which is too speedy. Rather, if you are a fast speaker, someone who's like me, I generally keep my speeches at around 750 to 800 words because I'm able to speak fast and I'm able to slow down when I want to create an impact. But I will be fast when I don't really know if my next sentence is going to matter to the audience or not. It was a sentence which was just an example and was just adding value to my previous thing, right? So I'm trying to prove my point another time. So I'm going to be little fast there. So with respect to your pace, you need to ensure your word limit. And after that, you need to self-time yourself. You need to ensure that you are through with your body's 60% of your body when you see the green card. When you are at your yellow card, you're almost at the level of your conclusion. And when you are concluding, when you see the red card, within 10 seconds, you have to wrap it up. You might just have to skip one or two sentences if need be, but you will have to wrap it up within 10 seconds of your red card because that is how you can stop yourself from timing out. So self-timing is very important. And the last part about building block is improvising. I feel that all of us can write a speech. There is nothing difficult out there. But the differentiating factor is how you can improve your speech. And there are 4 tactics which I personally use to improve my speeches. One is read aloud. When I write a speech, I start reading it aloud paragraph by paragraph. Even if I've not written my second paragraph, I will read aloud my first paragraph and see that whether I can make that vocal variety, whether that sentence makes sense or not, whether I can change the word if I'm using too many ands or buts or you knows. So reading aloud helps you understand how the audience is going to listen. Once I've written my entire speech, all my 5 paragraphs, I would read out the speech, record it on my phone, and I would listen to myself. This is something that I learned from Mohammed Fadlani in one of his workshops. He said that once you have written your entire speech, read it the way you want to deliver. All right. With the vocal variety, with the tonal change, with the pauses and all kinds of fluctuations. And once you have recorded it, listen to it like you listen to a song. If you listen to a song for 10 times, you will be able to memorize it so well that you will never forget one sentence of it. And that is how you should learn your speech. Listen to your speech the way you want to. You will know when the pitch goes high, when the pitch goes down, if you have recorded it that way. And the next strategy is called mirror check. Mirror check is when you have learned your entire speech, your delivery is also smooth, and now you're trying to test yourself in the mirror and see whether you are able to check out the expressions. And one strategy here is that if you are giving an emotional speech, do not speak a word, but only talk with emotions in the mirror. If I want to be sad, I would just blabber, but my words won't come out, and I would be able to express myself only using my facial muscles. So I would just be sad. I did not utter out the word, but I showed 3 expressions. One expression was an expression of sigh, where I was disappointed. Second expression was I was happy. And the third expression was where I won something. So when you are delivering a speech which is emotional, which has a lot of fluctuations of emotions, try to not say a word, just, remind yourself of the entire speech paraphrase, but do not speak a word, just show your emotions or your expressions to yourself in the mirror. And that is how you'll be able to express better. And last part of improvising is have a mini audience. Find someone from your friends or family or Toastmasters, or use a Zoom call, get 5 people on your Zoom call and just deliver out the speech. And that mini audience will help you understand which part you can improve on. And that mini audience should comprise of different aspects of people. Someone who is very good at building stories, someone who is very good with emotion, someone who is very good with vocal variety, and someone who actually evaluates very well. And if you have a group of audience who can evaluate you before your contest, I think you'll be able to do a fantastic job in improvising your speeches. So these were my 5 building blocks, which will help you write your speech better and frame it in a way that will make your speech something in which nothing can be added anymore. After the content, we work on the tools. The tools are a few aspects which you can actually note down once you have memorized your speech and once you have made it at a pretty good level. Now you add on a few tools to articulate your speech to make it to a championship level. And here is my list of tools that I personally use. There are 2 categories that I use. One is called refining tool. Second is called responsive tools. I'll define both of them. Refining a tool which refines a speech is essentially how you can make sure that whatever you are speaking, the story behind that particular sentence, the story after that particular sentence, and the story of that sentence is communicated in the way you want to communicate with the audience. Most times what happens is you want to tell something, but the audience understands something else, and that is where you lose that connect. So refining tools helps you match that connect of what you want to say and what the audience should be receiving. And that is where you use a prop. Prop is something which can be a tangible or an intangible. A tangible prop would be Dhananjay's rose. An intangible prop would be We Can Fix It, Manoj Vasudevan, where you uses a bow and arrow to push and pull. He's not actually using a bow and an arrow, but he's trying to show it. And he uses it 3 times, and the audience is able to remember every time that, okay, now if he's doing this, he's actually using a bow and an arrow. So it's an intangible prop, which is helping me communicate better. Second is choreography and timeline. Now in a virtual platform, we have that constraint, but let's realize that after a year or so, or after 6 months, we'll be going to physical. So the workshop has to be all encompassing. So in your choreography, you need to understand the timeline that you want to set, the plot that you want to set in your speech. If I'm talking something from my past to my present, I will move from my right to my left, so that for the audience, the speaker is moving from left to right, which is like a number line from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, because that is how you would want to see the speech, right? So a choreography or a timeline is a refining tool and helps me picture better. Transitions are something which help you understand the flow of thought. Dialogues help you create a scene. The difference is that when you are speaking something in a third person format, you're actually making a statement. But if you're speaking something from a first person format, I'm having a conversation with my mom and I'm showing it to the audience, I'm actually having a dialogue, and that dialogue is helping me create a scene, which is different from a statement. Character conceptualization, like I did for the old lady. Action points is where you want the audience to do something for themselves or for everyone else. Support materials are facts and stats or a presentation or a prop or whatever it can be, something that supports your speech with your message. These are the refining tools that I personally use after I am done with my paraphrasing and my building block. The next set is called the responsive tools. Responsive tools is to understand what the audience actually understood. These are the ways in which you can actually understand or gauge the response from the audience. First one is audience interaction. You actually ask the audience whether they did understand or not. For example, in a few speeches of world champions, they have actually, simply said, "We can," all right? And the audience themselves reacted by completing the sentence called "fix it." That is called sentence completion. You have reiterated your title so many times that it is now inside the head of the audience. And if you utter one or two words of the title, the audience will complete the sentence. That is how you understand which part of the audience understood your speech more or were able to connect better. That is called sentence completion. Third is reiterative sentences, which I just said right now. And the fourth is humor reaction. If you have made a humorous statement or a punchline, you need to gauge whether the audience is actually laughing or not. Because if you were prepared for a pause after the humor because your friends were laughing and your audience did not laugh, you will still make a pause. And that way people will be able to predict that, boss, he expected a humor, but we did not laugh, so he actually stopped. And there you lose marks. And that is called a long pause. Next is push and pull your energy. Is that when you want to focus on something, you actually push all your energy into that part. So when I'm trying to make a conclusive statement that this is something that you need to do, you cannot waver away from it, I am putting all my energy into it. But when I'm giving an example or something which is just an added, benefit or an added example to something I'm already proving, I would like to pull myself back and calm myself down. Because I know that the audience is not going to be too responsive about it. But when I'm pushing something, I want them to be responsive. So I'll be actually putting a lot of effort there. Next is reverse expectation. So this is something that I learned from Manoj Vasudevan's speech, is that he pulled out a card and he said that he was going to call his lawyer. And as soon as he picked up the phone, he said, and I called. He took a pause for 2 seconds and he said, my mom. So the audience was actually expecting that he is going to call his lawyer, but he actually called his mom. And that is when they were gasping. You can hear that voice that, oh. So that is when you reverse the expectation of the audience and you see whether they are responsive or they are hearing you or not. And pauses are something which you really need to have in your speeches. Just look at the audience and see their faces and you will get to know, how they are trying to adapt to your speech. So after these tools, we'll not touch point a lot on the delivery aspect, because this entire workshop is about crafting a speech and not about how you can deliver it better. So we need to write our speech better rather than delivering it better right now. This is our first task. So I want all of you to be active on the chat box right now for the next 2-3 minutes. I'll just pinpoint one pictures. And if you have listened to any of these speeches, you need to tell me which is the aspect that we want to highlight from this picture. Okay, by the way, this is Manoj Vasudevan. So I'll tell the name of the speaker. And he delivered a speech titled, "We Can Fix It." Anyone who can tell me this action of what he wanted to represent? Arrow, wonderful. Damn right, Anubhav. So when he showed that there's a cupid who is pulling that arrow and it hit him on his chest, he actually showed this. So this shows that you are using the best way of implementing body language. Pull less and bend more. Amazing, Ayush. I think this is the 2017 World Championship where he actually won and he changed his title to Pull Less and Bend More. Moving on to the second. Can someone imitate Mohammad Katani when he did this action? Or can someone tell me what he actually said? This is also a very important part of speech crafting. Hey. I think Ayush has already learned, seen a lot of speeches there. It's absolutely on point, Ayush. The way he delivered the hey, will blow your mind. And I would recommend all of you to watch this speech later after this particular workshop. He went on like, my child was doing something on the particular wall, then he was going scribbling on the wall, and then Mohammed went like, hey, 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 hey. And the way he delivered it is something that will blow your mind, because the way he uses voice modulation and his facial expressions, his sharp eyes, give him a lot of marks, because of which he definitely won the world championship. This could be one of the aspects. Now, hey, hey, hey is something which is a part of delivery. But when you are paraphrasing and you are trying to read it aloud, you would understand that hey, hey, hey will actually be a part of your content. That is how you would try to fit that thing into the content. Moving on to Ramona. Ayush, would you want to answer this as well, or someone else would like to take this shot? The fight. Absolutely correct. So Ramona went on, she did not use a single prop in her speech, but she used her hands, and she used a particular gesture in the entire speech where she went on like, I want to fight, I want to stand back. And that is what she did in every 1 minute of her speech. And that particular gesture became I would say, a signature step of her speech, and everyone remembers it so well. So a particular gesture can become one part of your speech, which people will remember to the fag end. I'll just take 3 more minutes. Dhananjay, everyone knows about it. I'm not going to go there. And this is also how you use a prop. I mean, look at his face and the comic face that he has. He's Mohammad Katani. And the prop that he used it very wisely. I would request you to watch his video. And I would also like to highlight this particular aspect of Dhananjay's, that usage of prop should be done in a very structured way. Is that when you pick it up wisely, but you can't throw it away anywhere you want. You have to put down the prop wisely as well. It's not like you brought a prop from a table and then you kept it randomly everywhere else, and there was no purpose of keeping the prop back. So make sure that your prop usage is wise. And this is my last question here. Can anyone name this speaker? This is a tough one, because he's not that famous as a world champion, but one action of his, I am in awe with that.
I don't remember his name, but he gave a speech related to the tire someone typed in.
Yes, yes, it was about the change of tire. And I would like you to point out, to note this particular fact, that every time he bent down and every time he rolled this, he made a sound of how you fix a tire. And it went on like, nah, nah. And he used this particular tone around 8 to 10 times in his speech, and which is why people remember him. A tone can also become one of the catchphrases of your speech. It need not be a title. It need not be I see something in you. It need not be power of your words. It can be a single tone as well. There was one more world champion who used stamp in his speech, and every time he used to stamp, he used to make a noise called kachak, kachak. And every time he did that, audience laughed out loud. So please hear world champions, and you will be able to understand how to deliver better. I'm not going to delve in more into delivery, but obviously we can take questions on that in the question answer section. And the last part is called V tweaks, is something that we have to adapt ourselves to virtually. We know that virtual isn't a boon, but I'm sure that it's not even a curse, because I can see a lot of benefits in a virtual platform. One is that if you are a novice speaker, before talking to an audience in a podium where you're talking to 50 people face to face, you will actually freeze out on the podium. So in a virtual screen, you have the comfort of just speaking for 7.5 minutes and even keeping everyone else aside. That will help you be comfortable speaking for 7.5 minutes. The second is, if you have a fear of people, if you have a fear of people staring at you while you are speaking, you can try the virtual platform definitely, because here the response from audience is not really that much, because of which you can work on the fear of facing people and deliver speech for 7.5 minutes, because most of the times, let's be frank, only 5-6 videos are on. So your fear of people can be overcome here. The third, which is very, I feel that this is a boom that has come for us, is that we can deliver more speeches virtually, because there are so many meetings and we have access to every meeting sitting from our home. So you can deliver more of speeches. If you are at level 1 or level 2 or level 3 of pathways, I would request you to give more and more speeches. Reason is in level 1, 2, and 3, speeches are about your communication track, your leadership track, your mentoring, or speeches about a particular presentation. And all of these speeches do not require too much of a body language or a vocal variety. These speeches focus more on the content and your thought process. And that is why the fourth point is focus more on the content. So deliver all the speeches that you can till level 3 on the virtual platform, definitely. And you can also try out level 4 because you have speech projects like creating podcasts, projects like you have to write 8 blogs. Panna, is it okay if I extend the entire thing by 5 minutes?
Sure, no problem.
Thank you. I hope the audience doesn't have a problem. I'll just take 5 more minutes from my 45 time. And the fifth aspect is expressions define your emotions. Virtual platform define your expressions more because your face is directly visible to the audience, and you yourself can see how you are delivering something, which is the most difficult part of most of my mentees. Their only complaint is भैया हम जब अपने आप को देखते हैं चेहरा में तो मेरे को डर लगने लग जाता है. I am frightened by seeing myself on the screen when I am speaking, which I think we all have to get away with because virtual platforms are going to be the future. So you have to be comfortable with your face first and then others. And you will be able to express yourself better by seeing on the screen. I would want you to practice on Zoom, like just log in on Zoom, go to create a new meeting and see yourself and speak and record, and then see the recording. And that is how you'll be able to learn better. Next is vocal variety is the focal point here because body language and gestures are of limited control. So go for the vocal variety where you can fluctuate your voice and you try it out. Go for podcasts like speeches or projects. You have a varied possibilities of network and reach. So why not use it in the virtual platform? But there are a few dilemmas that people face in virtual platform. First point is humor. How to gauge the response, how to modify my pauses. To cover up this aspect, I am not an expert in humor and I am a pretty serious person and I have been commented or picked the same. A lot of people have picked this point that Mayank, you look very serious, you talk very serious and you're not really a humorous guy. And I have not really delivered any humorous speech before. But what I've understood by after listening to the humorous speech contest is that if you actually want to deliver something humorous, you should plant a few people in your audience. You tell your friends to come and join the meeting. You ask them to keep the video on because those people, and you obviously you don't show them or make them hear the speech before. That is how you'll be able to understand the response because a lot of people might be keeping the video off. You'll not be able to understand them. So make sure that you have 2-3 people who have not heard your speech, but they are there and they're keeping the video on while you are giving your speeches. And that is where you also see the power of pause. Now, a humor is not something where you have to actually see the audience laugh. You see stand-up comedians, sometimes they make a sarcastic comment and everyone knows that it was a sarcastic comment. They smirk, but they don't really have to laugh out there, right? So humor is about whether you are able to instigate laughter in my brain, not on my face. All right. It is not about you hear my reaction that, okay, someone is laughing. If you are creating an impact, I might be someone who's very stoic. I might be someone who doesn't really express a lot. But that laughter is actually happening here. I am able to remember some aspect of my life where, something funny happened with me as well. Next is audience reaction. How do you get reactions? How to ask questions in a virtual platform? Use the feature of Zoom poll. Use the feature of menti.com. Use Google Forms. Use the various virtual platforms to interact better with the audience. Use thumbs up. Use reactions like a smiley. Use the chat box. There are so many possibilities in Zoom where you can gauge the audience interaction. Yes, it might take 15 more seconds of your speech. So cut short your speech by 50 words. No, it doesn't really matter. If you are able to engage with the audience and if you're able to create your message pass through your message, you can cut off 50 words. That you have to ultimately create more impact and fulfill your purpose. You don't have to speak more. Third is stage movement, how to choreograph my speech or how to set the plot. Now understand this virtual platform, this screen that you see is actually my real estate. All right. I can set up my plot in terms of directions. I can use my north, south, east, west, 30-degree, 45-degree, 90-degree to set up my plot and spaces. My village is there. My hometown is here. My school was there. Here is my friend whom I am talking to. Here is my mom whom I am looking up, right? So I can use this virtual platform to set up my plot. Now, another important thing is there, use the virtual backgrounds. I don't know why people don't use it. If you are talking about something which involves a graph or a pie chart, you can actually prepare a virtual background beforehand, which has the pie chart displayed here, right? And while you are delivering the speech, just tell the audience, give me 2 seconds to put on my virtual background. You click once here, your pie chart is here, and then you actually point out how realistic it becomes. Now, this is also part of the movement of the virtual background. Why not use it? It is actually refining your speech better. Next comes to body language. Obviously, all my gestures are not visible, so you have to ensure that you place yourself with, at least 2 finger gap above your head. Your chest is at least visible. Your hands, at least the forearms, the palm should be visible, and that is how you can use your gestures. I know it's a limited control, but while sitting and delivering, this is what you do. But while giving or taking part in contest, we recommend that you show at least your torso. That is how we did in the international speech contests. So everything can be covered. Obviously, there are some negatives, some benefits, but I would say that till the time we have the virtual platform, make the most use of it. At least make an aim to deliver 10 speeches in the next 6 months, because it's not going to be that difficult to deliver. It's going to be 10 times difficult to deliver it in a physical platform. So make sure that you're utilizing it more and you're moving and progressing with respect to writing speeches. So that's all about it. And coming to one last part, apart from all of these things, your speech is never going to work if you don't have a mentor. If you don't have a mentor who is able to see through your speech, who is able to guide you better, who is able to tell you what's wrong, what's right, how you can improve, if you don't have someone who is someone more experienced than you will never be able to improve your speeches, because who are you going to talk to about your speech? Your friends, your colleagues, everyone at the same level. So you have to have a mentor who is able to mold your speech as per your personality, but with the parameters which make the speech score more, because he has more experience, he has seen more number of speeches than you, he has delivered more number of speeches than you. So please make sure that every aspect, whatever we have spoken about today, is consulted with your mentor before delivering any speech. So hereby I end my entire presentation, and we could have a Q&A session. I would like to stop sharing my screen so that I can see you all better if you have the videos on, which you guys do not. So do we have any questions and answers? Let's open the chat box, and you could also unmute yourself and you can talk out if you want to. No problem with that. So let's take 10-15 seconds to type if you want to. Okay, show hands of raise your hands. How many of you have not delivered one speech? Is there anyone who has not even delivered one speech in this audience? Yes, I can see Joe, who has risen his hands. So yeah. Joe, I would like to unmute you. Yes. Why? Since how long have you been a part of Toastmasters?
It's just been 3 weeks or 3.5 weeks actually.
Then I cannot really scold you about that. And have you discussed with your mentor about your first speech? Have you interacted with them?
Or have no, no. I'm just taking roles of a timer and a counter right now. Nothing more than that.
No problem. Since Joe has just been a part of Toastmasters for 3 weeks, so I am not going to comment on why he has not delivered a speech, because in fact he's taking up roles, which is impressive for someone who has just joined 3 weeks before. So I'm glad, Joe, you are taking initiatives and participating.
Thank you.
We have one question from, thank you, Joe. We have one question from Surya. Is there any thumb rule, number of words, time taken during delivery? Surya, there is no thumb rule, because it actually matters on the pace, with the pace with which you deliver something. If you are a slow speaker, ensure that your speeches do not cross 700 words. If you are a fast speaker, ensure that your speeches do not cross 850 words. But you have to come to a middle ground where even if you speak fast, people are able to understand and comprehend what you said. You cannot just blabber on the screen and deliver a speech of 1200 words, which is what people have done. So I would say that for the next speeches or for a beginner level, keep your speeches limit to 750 words, not more than that. That way you will be able to pace yourself and give more pauses as well. Any further question?
Mayank, it's Panna here.
Yes, hi Panna, tell me.
Yeah, during a conversation, how much do you turn away from the camera when you're having a conversation or throwing a dialogue? So what is your angle with your camera?
Okay, so generally what we do is, had we been in a physical platform, people, what they earlier used to do is they used to place one character on the right side, all right, and when they used to talk about the second character, they would move towards the left side and they would face the right character and then talk, and then go again to the right side, then they would face the left character and they would talk. This is what people used to do in a physical platform. In a virtual platform, it is suggested that you do not move around. You stick to one place where you are, that is the center of the camera, and then you just turn 30 degrees, not even 45 degrees. All right. Why? Because if you turn 45 degrees, 50% of your face is not even visible. And if you turn 90 degrees, people are not able to see the right side of your face at all. So it is suggested that you just turn 30 degrees and you place the character there. You just turn 30 degrees and you place the character there, so that I am able to gauge the expressions that the speaker is delivering. Right? If I just turn this much, I am able to see what, my smile or my facial muscles and everything. But if I'm turning out this much, you won't be able to see if I'm smiling or not. Right? So this is how I would like to place my facial expressions.
Another question added to that is, are you looking at the camera or are you looking at the person
Yes.
you're conversing with?
You always look at the camera. You always look in the center point of the screen, because generally what happens is that if I'm looking at you right now, I will have to turn, let's say 10 degrees towards my right, and my eyeballs will be a little up, which might be distracting for a lot of other people. But if I'm actually looking into the center of the camera and my eyeballs are at sharp 90 degrees of, my nose, then I am seeing straight away into your eye. Okay, we have two more questions. Three more questions. So we have a question from Tulika. At times we forget our speech. Tulika, let me tell you, if you actually, hear Dhananjay's speech very meticulously, you will see that at 4 minutes 40 seconds, Dhananjay hiccups for once, and he forgets the next word. It's a very minute thing, but even the world champion forget his speech. Even the world champion can stammer, right? Mohammad Katani used to stammer before delivering speeches, and somehow the way he worked out and the way he participated, he reached to the world champion level. There are people who have forgotten speech while delivering. Like literally the second half of the speech from the body is gone. I don't know what to say. I got nervous. I got freezed out. I really don't know how to move ahead, and I'm not able to think on the spot of what should be my next statement. So what? How does it matter? I mean, are people going to judge you? Are we there to judge you here? Let me tell you, even if you forget, people are going to still clap. Why? Because we are here to motivate you. We are not here to sigh along with you that, boss, oh man, you forgot your speech now. What is the point of even listening to you? We have all faced this problem of forgetting our speeches. We have all been nervous at our times. I would simply ask you to build this one tactic, that even if you forget your speech, do not show it on your face. Just do not. That is how you become a master speaker. I have forgotten my speech. What I do is, I think, I take a pause. I come with a gesture which, adds on to my part which I have forgotten. Like let's say I forgot in one part of my speech and I had a table in front of me. So at 3 minutes 30 seconds, I forgot. And in that 3 minutes 30 seconds, I banged the table hard, and I was looking down and I was actually remembering for 5 seconds what I need to speak next. And the audience was wondering, oh man, he's done a fantastic job. He created a 5-second pause where everyone is like, whoa. All right. So I use that pause to actually think what I need to speak next. So that can happen. It's not a problem. We have a question: how to get rid of a habituated tone while delivering a speech. This is a very generic problem with everyone, is that you develop a tone and you just keep on delivering it in the same way. I would like to highlight that the tone remains the same. What matters is the pitch. All right. The pitch with which you change. For example, if I'm talking about a female, or if I'm talking from the statement of a female version, I would not really bring down my pitch to a female version of, hey, how are you? What are you doing? No, that's not how it works out. Your tone remains the same, but your variety of the voice fluctuates. Your pace fluctuates. You speak fast or you speak slow. You speak from the chest and you make a hoarse voice like your father. Hey son, what are you doing? And when I'm talking about a kid, I would like to talk like a baby face. Hi, Papa. How are you? Right. So there's a variety in the entire pitch and the entire tonal thing. But and this habituation can be removed only if you practice more and more. Right. So I would recommend that in the next of your speeches, try to bring in more characters. Do not give a general talk about an inspiration or a particular research narrative. Bring in more characters which will help you test yourself with respect to your tonal variety. Bring in a kid, bring in a oldie, bring in a teacher, bring in a father, and you'll be able to modulate your voice, and that is where your mentor will help you. Okay. Tulika's has a follow-up question: how to continue once you have forgotten? So the strategy, if someone forgets a lot, is the strategy is that do not rehearse your speech from top to end. Do not memorize it from word to word. All right. Do not memorize it that this 50th word was this, the next paragraph beginning word is this, the last paragraph this word was this. Memorize the pointers, the bullets that you created, so that the flow of the speech is here. All right. Then read out your speech 10 times, and you will be able to memorize it automatically, because your purpose is not to memorize all those 750 words. Your purpose is to memorize the flow of the speech. The practice is where you read out those 750 words so that it gets into your nerve automatically, so that even if you forget those 750 words ka koi bhi ek word, you remember the bullet point and you are able to cancel out that paragraph and move on to the next paragraph. If you have a trouble, write down 7 words on your palm, and when you're making a gesture like this, you read out the next point. What's the problem? What's the harm? It just should not come out on your face. All right. I want to tell the audience, this is what I want you to know. All right. Just hear me out. I've already read my next 4 points. So that's how I do it. Okay. Faz has a question: when to stop modifying your speech and consider it to be final? There is no limitation to modifying your speech. You stop modifying your speech, I would say, a week before a contest, so that till the time you have, see, every speech can be improved. If you hear the world champions, you can find out 3 problems which you would want to improve, and there's no way a speech cannot be modified further. You might not like a story, someone might not like a voice modulation, someone might not like a stage movement, so you can't hear everyone out. It is when you believe that I have put in my maximum effort on the speech and this is my best version, and now my contest is near, now I do not want to try out more stuff, is when you stop modifying, is when you stop improvising. When you have shown your speech to 5 people and everyone has appreciated and they do not have any more feedbacks, is when you stop modifying right now. Do not modify your speech 2 to 3 days before the contest, because that is when you will make you will do some screw up, because you have been memorizing something for 20 days, and on the penultimate day you change 2 sentences, and now on the day of the speech you're confused. Am I supposed to deliver my previous version, or am I supposed to deliver my new version? And which is why a lot of people have lost in a few championships, because they modified on the day, on the spot.
Mayank, one follow-up question.
Yes.
Regarding your ISC competition. So how many times did you modify before the main contest?
A lot of times. So I was scared of the fact that should I deliver the same speech again? Because I was under the presumption that judges might be similar, the audience might be similar, a lot of people might change their speeches, and everyone has already heard my speech. Should I change it again? And even 12 days before my final contest, my district level contest, I was wondering whether I should write a new speech. But then I was given this wise advice from a few Toastmasters, is that even if someone has heard your speech, you take the example of Manoj Vasudevan. He delivered a speech in 2014. He came second. He delivered the same speech in 2017 and he became the world champion. I mean, that proves the point. And he did not change much of the content of the speech. Everything was almost similar. He just reduced on a few things and he added a few voice modulation and body language. So for my ISC, I was changing my speech or modifying it till the 4th day before the contest. I was trying to improvise things. And somewhere I also received feedback on my semi-finals, and especially from, I would say, Rajat. Rajat gave me a very good feedback wherein he asked me to change the thought process. I was trying to express something, but it was not creating an impact. And Rajat told me that, Mayank, if you use this sentence called, my father was like a closed chrysalis and he became a beautiful butterfly who is trying to fly. And that statement, I feel, still give me vibrations, because I was able to emote my father out of how he was a closed chrysalis and how he became a beautiful butterfly. And I could show the emotions on the screen. So that feedback, if it's very important, and if you feel that it is a very good value addition and you can rehearse it well, then you can improvise till the 3rd day before the speech. Do not do anything in the last 2-3 days.
Okay, thank you.
Tulika, it's not necessary that you take up reading for writing speeches, but I would say it is necessary that you write more to write more speeches. Ideation does not even always come from reading. Ideation can also come from watching movies, from seeing other speakers, from reading a few blogs also, and from probably watching a commercial as well. But to write a speech, and when you read more, it's actually you get the idea. You get more ideas by reading more. But to craft a speech in a beautiful way, you have to practice more on your writing skills rather than on only your reading skills. Because when you're reading a novel, there is a particular way that novel has been written, and the author has a particular style of writing. You can't imitate that style. But when you're writing your own story, you are creating a style for yourself. And that is why you need to write more to make sure that you're paraphrasing and you're crafting your speech and the building blocks become better. So I would suggest you write blogs. I would suggest that you watch a lot of TEDx, because that gives you a lot of idea. And there are a lot more platforms nowadays with a lot more speakers which you can use. I think we have crossed a lot of minutes, and I see Panna smiling at me now. So let's be done with the questions now. I think if you guys have any other question, you could just reach out to me. Everyone has my
Mayank,
contact, I
sorry
feel
to
so.
interrupt you. Mayank, we had a question from Faiz Hussain.
Yes, tell me.
Just like when to
Mhm.
stop modifying your speech and consider it to be final. We had that question.
Right.
Yeah, I
So
think he has already covered it. Yes, he already answered.
yes,
Yes, thank you.
I think I also gave my example about how I was modifying my speech. So I think we have the recorded version, Rupashi, so you can hear it, or we can get in touch personally also. I'll tell you about my experience. Right. So I think we are good to go there. If you have any further questions, you can reach out to me personally. My contact is there available to everyone. And I would also be rolling down a feedback form right now on the chat box. And I would want all of you to just spare 5 minutes and give a feedback about the entire workshop so that I can make it more better and I can make it better, sorry. And I am able to improve myself and find my flaws as well. So just hold on for 1 minute. Till that time, I would like to hand over back to the MC, and I would just roll out the form on the Google chat, on the Zoom chat. Thank you so much for having me, Division K. Thank you so much, Panna, for organizing it. And thank you everyone who is a role player and all the attendees who took out time on a weekday from 8:30 to 10 o'clock. I am glad that you attended. I'm grateful. Thank you so much.
So thanks a lot, Toastmaster Mayank, for the amazing session. Really, that session was oozing with knowledge and enlightening insights. How miserable would be a person who has the power to speech but not the power to conversation? Once Abraham Lincoln said, when I get ready to talk to people, I spend 75% of the time thinking about what they want to hear and 25% time on what I want to speak. And I believe that Abraham Lincoln could have such a great command over speech just because he had a mentor, someone like Mayank. I mean, eloquent speeches are not from lip to ear, but also from heart to heart. I really believe that we are just one great I have a dream speech away from becoming the next Martin Luther King. One blood, toil, tear, and sweat speech away from becoming the next Winston Churchill. One tryst with destiny speech away from becoming the next Jawaharlal Nehru. With this, let me conclude by saying that it was an immense privilege for me to host this invaluable event, and I truly feel grateful for that. Well, now I would like to request the legendary Toastmaster Panna Rashmire, who has been a Toastmaster for 5 years and the current event chair of Division K, to carry on the further proceedings. Over to you, Toastmaster Panna.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Rachit. You did a fantastic job as an MC. Come on, let us give him a big round of applause. I would also like to thank Toastmaster Mayank, Area Director Mayank. You were awesome, and your waffles of wisdom will really enrich us. And I'm sure all of us will be writing better speeches from now on. Toastmaster Komal, you were a very cute SAA, Sergeant at Arms, and you specified everything that needed to be done. Area Director Toastmaster Rupashri Biswas, thank you so much for hosting the event. Toastmaster Sahil and Toastmaster Faiz, thank you as a tech master. To Area Director Seema, Ramesh, thank you so much for being with us from the beginning to the end. Last but not the least, all the attendees who are here attending this session, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for making it a wonderful experience for us to host such workshops for you all. And also a thank you to the division director, Abhishek. He's not here with us, but I'm sure he would want to be. He has guided and supported all that we have put up today. With that, oh, Achita is joining us now. Achita, we have nearly finished. With that, I would like to wish all of you a very good night and invite you all to the session on the 1st of September, which is about evaluation. Please be with us for the evaluation session, and the next week on the 9th of September will be the table topics. Wishing you all good night. Take care. Bye-bye. Can you all come online? Switch on your video so we can take a photograph. Everyone, please. Techmaster, please stop. Okay. Who's Galaxy M30? Seema, let's see you. Rohit Reddy. Okay, Faiz will not come online. He's already told. So let us have Mridula. Mridula, let's see you. Okay, no problem. Faiz, really, Faiz, the Mayank, really wonderful session. Really wonderful.
Thank you so much, Bana. Thank you. Do fill up the feedback form, guys. It would be, I would be really obliged if I can get the details of how it went.
Sure. I'm sure most of them have done it.
Thank you.
Good night. Bye-bye. Bye,
Oh,
Mridula.
Mridula is here.
Yes.
She
Achita
came
ran away
after the
again.
picture.
She came right in the end. It was a good session. Good
It was
session.
a wonderful, wonderful session.
Yeah.
Loved it. We can stop the recording now, I guess.
Yeah, 1 minute. How do I do that?
Thank you, Mridula.